All right, so let's get started. So thank you everyone who's joining us today for our webinar, Improving Incident Response Scenario Manager for Transportation. So before we get started in the general session of this webinar, I just want to go over the agenda and a couple housekeeping items. So what we'll be covering today is what really happens during a disruption in service. So we'll go through a couple different use cases and the communication element. What type of communications need to be going out, and then after that we will go into a live demo overview of our Scenario Manager product. And as a reminder, like I just mentioned, if you'd like to submit a question at any time, use the Q&A function to submit your questions to all panelists. Just make sure you select all panelists so Yancey and myself will see it. So with that being said, our two speakers today are myself. I'm on the right. My name is Michael Scott. I'm a Senior Marketing Manager here at Everbridge. And to my left is Yancey Lent. He is a Senior Sales Engineer here at Everbridge and is one of our top technical experts. So we're going to dive into the use case section. So before we start listing off all the use cases that it can be used for, really, at a high level, what Scenario Manager is it's a template-based product that, whether you're on your mobile app or your desktop user interface, the goal of it is to make your job easier so you can reach the right groups with the right message. The point of it is you don't have to worry about the incident and the minor details that go into it. Everbridge can take care of sending out the message to the right groups and the right devices, and additionally, the devices and contact paths that they prefer, such as SMS, email, fax, or voice. So the three use cases we're going to focus on today is a collision, adverse weather, and then an active shooter. But keep in mind that these aren't the only three use cases that you can use this for. You can use it for a wide variety of different use cases, and we can even help build out those incident templates and scenarios with you. So as with any case, just remember, and what we're going to cover today is you're not sending one single message to all employees. Instead, you're sending it to each group based off the severity of the incident, and you're going to be sending updates to the incident, and that's an important thing to remember. So as we jump into our first use case, I'm just going to run down a couple different things that happen when you have a collision. The first thing is on your end, you're going to hear that bus number whatever on route to on route ABC, there's been an accident. Passenger drivers are stranded on the bus and possibly could be injured. Other passengers are waiting for the bus and don't know why there is the delay. So right there, there's some confusion that's starting, and probably some frustration because a lot of people, are using your service to get, from their house to work or vice versa. And most importantly, you need to notify all appropriate departments and passengers, and anyone depending on the severity and the type of the incident. So what I want to break down here with this, with this next slide is really just at a high level showing you that this is what you have to do during any given situation. For this type of scenario, you're going to have to send a message out to operations, to HR, to administration, to passengers. But the problem is, traditionally, you have to do that one by one by one, or have different groups sending that out. And what I'd like to do before we move on is really just ask everyone on the call right now. I'm going to send out a poll, launch a poll right now, and I'd like you guys to let me know. What's the highest priority? What group gets the highest priority in this type of incident? And I'm going to give you guys just about 15, 20 seconds to do that. So we'll give it just another 10 seconds. Awesome. So to give you guys a breakdown of how each of you voted, 67% of you said operations, 10% said HR and risk, 14% said administration, and 9% said passengers the highest priority. This was somewhat of a trick question, though. The reason being is really everybody's a priority. Each function serves a different purpose. You know, it's vital to let your operations know and your responders know right away that they have to respond to this type of scenario. But it's also just as important, especially if it's a life safety issue, to let passengers know, or potential passengers, people waiting for it or in harm's way. So the next use case we're going to cover, and we'll cover in the live demo as well, is adverse weather. So, you know, from your situational intelligence feeds, whether you have with us at Everbridge and NC4 or through external ones, you know, you get alerts from, you know, National Weather Service or a local municipality has reported, you know, a severe storm is coming through or has come through, and there's flooding in this area, hail, damaging winds, tornadoes. You know, the first thing you need to do is or one of the things you need to do is passengers need to know that there is a weather-related issue that's going to reduce their schedules or potentially halt them for a few hours or days. And employees need to know about, you know, these scheduling changes as well and the potential impact. And again, staff need to know if the facilities themselves, you know, will be closed. So again, just as a breakdown, and just to highlight, you know, what I'm showing you here and what it really means is yes. So there's 4 different groups in this particular scenario that you're messaging. Each of them, you know, they have a similar situation, but the notifications are going to be different. But what's special about Scenario Manager, what it allows you to do is be 4 times as efficient. So instead of having to choose one group or another and going through them, creating one message at a time, Scenario Manager lets you create all 4 because you'd have these built out, and there would be select variables that you could alter for each of those messages. So if you look to the right underneath the notification column, you can see how those would change and where you would be putting in specific information. And Yancey will go into detail of how you do that during the live demo. So our last use case that I want to cover really quickly before Yancey begins is it's always top of mind and it can really affect any type of transportation organization, whether you're a port authority, you're a DOT, you're an airport, or even an airline, anyone who's involved in transportation, this is always a potential threat. And during these events, you know, employees, tenants, passengers, they need to know what's going on and what to do. Not only what's unique about this one is not only what they have to do, you know, during it, but also after. You know, when are things getting rescheduled? You know, when is it safe to come back to, you know, certain facilities or take certain routes? And obviously, public safety and security need to be notified immediately. And administration, of course, has to make the timely decision after the event and set out the right, you know, set up the right people on staff, and then also work with the other departments, such as, you know, PR, to make sure the right messages go out to the public. So again, during these high stress situations, what's unique about Scenario Manager is it lets you take control and simplify your processes so you can go back to, you know, whether it's responding or your day-to-day operations. Again, making you 4 times more efficient in this scenario. In other scenarios, it might be 5, might be 6, depending on how many groups and how many messages you have to send. That's just the unique part of Scenario Manager. It lets you automate your entire workflow in your notification process versus just having the ability to send out one general mass notification. It allows you to send, yes, a mass notification, but smart mass notifications that can deliver the right messages to the right groups simultaneously. So with that being said, I don't want to take up too much time because I know a lot of you have joined today to really see this live. So with that being said, Yancey, I'm going to hand it over to you, And when you are ready, you may begin.
Great. How am I coming through? Okay.
Loud and clear.
Excellent. So welcome everybody. Really excited to show you Incident Manager today. You know, if you walk away with anything today, and you're chatting with somebody at the water cooler later, and you tell them what you did today at noon or whatever time it is your time, this is really a presentation on glue. So I'm going to show you essentially how you glue together multiple notifications that are going out to multiple stakeholders, multiple audiences. But really, it's the scenario part of this is all about gluing those together. What you're looking at is all of the different things that we're going to glue together. And some of these, of course, they're not all going to be glued together, but you can see a repetitive kind of theme to some of the notifications or incidents, rather, that will be glued together. Heather, who is the one that put this organization together, or all these incidents together, did a really good job picking not only the content, but also the areas of focus. I'm going to start with our bus accident, kind of expand off of what Michael was going off of with a collision. And imagine this was a collision with a bus. What you're seeing here is a list of all the incidents, and imagine the scenario, and I'll show you this after I show you all the different incidents. The scenario is all of these three put together. So once again, there is a scenario up here that is the glue for all of these bus-related incidents. And you could even use this categorization if you wanted to kind of categorize off of that, that collection. So the first thing we'll look at is HR. The difference, if any of you are familiar with Everbridge or have used Everbridge just in sending out notifications, and maybe you've saved some templates or saved notifications as templates, we have the ability to send out notifications, incidents, and what you're looking at right here in the incidents tabs. Incidents are more like riding on a train track, or think of it as the train, compared to off-roading, which is the notification. The reason I use that train analogy is because the operators, the people that you've empowered with filling out these notifications, they're literally going to choose from drop-downs. So if I were to put this in edit mode or create a new one up here, I would just be able to choose the route, I'd be able to choose the facility, and that's all I really want the person filling this out to do. I don't want them to change the content of the message. And the reason why is not because I trust them with, you know, the changing the message or not sending out a good message. It's because really when there's a situation like a bus accident, there is the need to get this notification out as soon as possible. So this is all about using these drop downs to formulate the message that then gets sent out to all the different parties. So when they fill this out, they hit send. However, what it does behind the scenes is it's constructing a merge letter. And I use that just because I know that all of you are familiar with merge letters from long ago. You know, maybe the 90s when we, you know, Microsoft Word, we filled out and sent a letter to, you know, hundreds of people. We're doing and using that same concept with incidents. So the person, operator, fills it out. It will then, before their very eyes, create the body of the notification and the title, and they'll be able to send it. But this is just one. We're just looking at the HR. So these are all independent messages, and I'll kind of show you what it looks like with the glue in a second. But here, if you've read ahead, you can see that this message is tailored to a specific audience, to say a stakeholder or to a specific audience that needs to act on this. And if there are many bus accidents, let's say this is a large metropolitan area where there's bus accidents happen potentially, you know, on the weekly, let's say, you're going to get not only a notification that's sent right away because the operator doesn't need to figure out what, you know, what content they're going to provide, the drop-downs provide that for them, but there is going to be some level of familiarity with the message. The reason being is the stakeholder is going to get a consistent notification in the title, in the body, and they're going to be able to act on it that much quicker. They act on it that much quicker because as you get more and more of these messages, they're constructed in a consistent way. And that's going to, once again, reduce the amount of time to send the message, receive the message, understand the message, and act on the message, right? So as we look at this, put this in and burn this into your memory here, we're going to go to the media. The media might have less information that is required, and they might have a more direct and to the point message. Now there's going to be overlap. Every single one of these buses is going to have similar shared fields, and we call them technically variables, but they're just fields on a form, and they'll all overlap to create one master form that is filled out. So what happens is the person filling this out isn't filling out 3 groupings. It's actually all these are overlaid on top of each other, and they just fill out one single message. So let's quickly get to that with just looking at the accident for the operations team. Operations team, once again, has a different message that's going to go to them, right? All right, now they see the differences between the different buses. Let's go to the actual scenario and look at the bus accident. Notice it's just one. Now, if I click on bus accident, you'll see that to the right, you can see a listing of all the different incidents that are the 3 different incident templates that are glued together. And if I go to edit mode, once again, you can see not only where you can, this is where you'd manage them, but if you want to add more, you can. If you want to subtract, you can. But over here, it lists the total amount of variables. So what this means is you're gonna reuse variables across all the different templates that construct this one single notification that goes out. It's one single notification to the operator, right? They just create the form, but it consists of all these different fields, and some of these are going to be on all of the 3 different templates. So let's go to incident, launch incident. So now we've looked at the glue, right? So this is how you glue the different templates together. When you create a new incident, scenarios are just an option with all the other incidents. So think of this as the scenarios are a grouping of n number of incidents into one scenario. So once again, we look at that bus accident, and here we go. Here are the 6 different variables that the person has to fill out in order to initiate a bus accident. And they even get a listing of all the different templates while they're filling it out, but they just choose. They don't have to put much thought into this other than, the cross streets, 5th and Main, number of passengers. We're going to have a relatively packed bus of 40 people, and it's route B. The current time, they hit send, it's off and running. So pretty straightforward. The construction of this is very, very easy. So this isn't, you don't have to be a developer to do this. We've made it very straightforward with just picking fields, and I might actually spend a little time going into what it takes to make one of these. But it's very straightforward for the operator. Now, the operator is not going to see all these different options at the top. We have many, many different roles and permissions frameworks that you can assign to the operators that fill out these and send these notifications. So definitely on this call are different organizations that have various departments that they manage, right, or oversee. So you could divide some of these out so only certain roles would see bus, only certain roles like the security team would see active shooter, only certain roles would see traffic accidents. You could break this out infinitely to suit your organization from a permissions framework. All right, so we have the bus accident. You kind of saw how easy it is to create those. What I want to do now is, now that we've seen it from the person sending out the notification, and these are all the incidents that have been sent out, what I want to concentrate now on is the different configurations within the bus accident, right? So let's take, for example, media, okay? We could go in and look at look at media. Now there's a couple different characteristics. We've talked about the outgoing message. We've talked about the fields that are selected. What we haven't yet talked about is who this message is going to go to. Remember, they all work independently. So all of those different templates map to the audience that you want to send the notification to. And in this case, we're just sending out to groups. To two groups. If I look at those two groups, it's the media and it's newspaper and television. Now we're using groups because behind the scenes that can be managed, and that way the person sending out the notification doesn't have to deal with this at all. If as new newspapers and radio stations and TV, as they come online, you just add those to the appropriate groups and they get sent out. Now in the settings, you might have different methods of delivery. So it could be that to television and media, you could select maybe only email, like a specific email value that gets sent. So or you could say that, the operations team, they might require text and only text because they never check their email, or they don't even have email that they look at mobile on their mobile device. So you're in complete control over the settings. Now, if this is internal, you might want to, send off one email to, say, the media, but if it's internal, you can choose to have an amazing amount of flexibility with sending out to those different delivery paths. You might put, for example, if you need assistance right away, you can request confirmation. Now, imagine the person that's tasked with the operations on the operations team of sending out this notification, right? They're going to send it out. One of the things I haven't shown yet is the command kind of dashboard that they get of all the different notifications that have been sent out and the confirmation of those notifications. So we'll have confirmed checked off, which means if they get a text, they're going to be requested to reply with yes. If they get a voice, they're going to be required to push 1 for, I got this message. And for email, they click on a link and confirm that they got receipt. Now, what you could do as an internal communication for this rollout is say, if you've confirmed, it's just you saying that you've not necessarily gotten the message, we're okay with that, but it's that you can help and assist and you're on this. You're taking this as a task, right? So if you're working with a team that is like first responders, let's say that you were upping the ante now of importance. If the media gets it, great, but we need to make sure that the first responders get there as soon as possible. If if police needs to be notified, if anybody needs to be notified. So we have this interval that you can go. Imagine you're spraying all these different modalities, and then you can choose to, for the uppermost important, you can have 0 minutes between the modalities. Now, if it's internal, and if it's, say, management or the executives, and it's just important for them to know, but they need to know, we need to prove it, you could send to all of those, but maybe put a delay. And each individual person, each executive, say that the director of the entire organization might get it on an SMS, and they know that if they don't confirm it, they're going to get a voice call as the second modality, right? So you could almost in place some gamification on this, so that you're going to actually gamify or put some gamification in terms of having people confirm quickly, because they know if they don't confirm within a minute or two of that text, they're going to get a voice call. And that will just, and we have this concept here of confirm and quit, which means that if they confirm with, say, email, which is in this case is the first one, they're not going to get a message on any of these additional modalities. We're not going to pester them with blowing up their phone, blowing up their desktop. It's all going to be confirm and quit with that first confirmation. So you can shut up future messages. All right. So that's some of the, and you can name, determine the number of cycles if you want to go through these multiple cycles. So that gives you some kind of idea of the flexibility you have in targeting not only a different message, but different delivery methods and different delivery paths. Even different display values in emails and phone caller IDs. All these things are configurable for each audience that you're sending out the notification to. Excellent. So that gives some sense of the ease of yeah, one of the things to look at is not just the flexibility, but the ease of maintenance, right? Because you're pulling these all together. They're very straightforward with being able to maintain them. All right, I'm going to now transition because I want to show you what a notification looks out that has maybe gone to a lot of people. One of these notifications that you have, I'm going to switch over to a different environment, and this one, it's not as pretty as the one that I just demoed, but it's got a lot of data in it. So if we go to a notification that was sent out, I can show you this university lockdown test, just to give you an idea of what it looks like to get a notification that is sent to a large amount of people. If you choose a polling message, let's say that you were to send this out to thousands and thousands of, or your ridership, right? So you're probably thinking, okay, great, I have a ridership. What does that mean? Well, you could have what we call a public portal where people can sign up to receive these notifications. That could be an audience. So your audience is basically sent out a notification to say that there's been an accident. Just give them an FYI that maybe they might have some interruption because of where the accident happened, where the bus happened. You know, and you can have people in addition to that, and I'll kind of show you that with the what a subscription looks like. If we go to Member Portal, and I'm going to sign in here as Stacy. So Stacy is Stacy Bright is a rider. And one of the things that she could do, and this is all publicly available, you know, I can sign up for those bus notifications. And, you know, I'm not joking when I say this. Just this morning, I run with two other guys in town, and there was a situation on a local train, and one of Craig was on the train, and he was delayed an hour and a half yesterday because of an accident. So imagine if you were to come in here and edit his subscriptions, give all his information, maybe his cell phone number and his SMS number, but he could sign up for events, and the different events could be you know, related to the line that he takes. So he's on the commuter rail, he's on the Newburyport commuter rail, and he could sign up for alerts. Any delays or any accident information, he could sign up. Now, this is within the notification that we're sending out. That could be an audience. Now, notice that audience isn't a group, it's now a group of riders, right? So you could have a rule that basically says everybody that has signed up on the member portal for Newburyport messages, you know, is going to get this notification. The person filling out this scenario or this template is going to pick from the routes or from the train lines. They're going to pick the corresponding train line, and that is going to then dictate who it gets sent to. It's going to dictate it gets sent to the rule that is made up of all the different people that have opted in to that notification. So I know, like I said, these are advanced topics, but I want to show you the power of this. So if this were just a demo on the glue, it would be very boring, right? Because it really is that straightforward. You're piecing together all the different notifications to all of the different audiences. So let's go back to that, because there's another concept I want to show you. Let's say there's an audience, and that was the member portal. Let's go back to this notification. Let's say that one of the audiences was and we'll actually go back here because I set one of these up, was a union shop, or was you know, the crew that goes out with the tow truck. And let's say that gets bid out, and you have 3 different organizations that get notified, and there's say a pecking order to that. Well, if we go to groups, we talked about the classic group of just sending out a notification to all these individuals. Right? That's really straightforward, right? However, you could have like an equipment team. Notice this little fancy icon. The equipment team might be that, let's say it's the tow truck team, right? There's 3 different, or in this case 4 different organizations, and these are your contacts to notify the wrecker companies, right? And let's say we've moved it to now Zach is number 1. He is the first to be notified. So what you're doing here, when you construct the notification, you can point it to this group and specify an interval. And what the interval does is it says, after X, send this notification to Zach, and this is all part of the incident. just the operator sending out one notification. Behind the scenes, everything is happening automatically. One notification is sent out. One of the templates is the towing, the cleanup crew, right? It then gets sent to Zach, and with instructions that are static that say, give him 5 minutes. If he does not confirm, then send it to Jack. If he does not confirm in 5 minutes, send it on to Tim. And as soon as someone confirms, it doesn't send out to the next person. What you get with this is once again, think of yourself literally riding on railroad tracks, because it is fixed. You could specify this, and hopefully this, something that conforms to your contract with that towing company that says after 5 minutes it gets sent. And what you get at the end is that in a report, everything is timestamped. You're going to know exactly when Zach, or maybe let's say Zach and Jack just let it go. They weren't interested because of the time of day. Then it would go to Tim, and Tim's timestamp would be there. So if Zach complains, all of this is going to be part of the permanent record. None of this, it's all on a platform, and none of this can be deleted, because once again, all this is in the cloud, right? So there's no deletion of anything in here that's related to a notification that's been sent out. If you call up support can't even delete this stuff. It's all part of the permanent record. Great. So one last advanced topic, and then I promise I'll hand it back to Michael. All right, let's go to, and for this I'm going to switch over to mine. Let's go to the internal notifications. Let's say you have something that is, and I'm going to go to contacts here, something that is more repetitive than maybe weekly. Let's say it happens a couple times a day, and you have shifts, and you might have a different shift structure that you want to make sure that the message only goes to those individuals that are currently on at the moment. Now this is an advanced topic because it takes a little more setup, but if you want to steer this notification that's going out to only people that are on that shift, you can set up a schedule that the notification gets pointed to. And all you're saying is you're not picking individuals, you're not picking a static group of individuals, you're just saying that I'm going to send something to a calendar, and the calendar is going to figure out who it goes to. So let's say I look at the day shift here and I mouse over, it's going to go to Yancey and Darren because it happened on a Monday between 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock p.m. If it happens on the weekend, it's going to go to Stacy and Yancey. So that's what you're doing there, is you're reducing the total number of notifications that you're sending to people that are off duty, right? Executives, they probably want 24/7 coverage whenever certain things happen, but once again, just showing off the flexibility of this. All right, let's go back. Let's go back to our incident manager, and I'll conclude with just a couple parting notes. Okay, we covered the speed at which to send. All the person has to do is go in here, pick a bus accident, fill it out, and hit send, right? So we got the speed. We got the ease of maintenance because you're only maintaining 3 different things that map to 3 different audiences that it gets sent out to. So there's not a lot of lists and Excel spreadsheets that you need to call together. It's all just done in a UI. It's extremely flexible, and you're sending it to, if you incorporate calendaring, you're sending it to only the people that need to know about the situation, but on a modality of their choice and at a time of their choice, because you have the scheduling implemented. Or you have sequence group scheduling, which does the ordering of the group. All right, I went over a lot there, and I hope that was okay that I covered some advanced topics, but I think that you can see how easy all of this is to configure. That's the big walkaway. No, actually the big walkaway is that you sat in on a webinar about glue today, so great. All right, Mike, got any questions for me? What do we have next?
Thank you, Yancey. Yeah, so we're going to switch over for just a minute to going over just a company overview, give you guys, I know we have a lot of customers on, but for those of you who aren't customers, we just want to give you a quick 1-minute overview of really who we are and what we do, outside of just scenario manager and incident management. So let's do that, and then once we finish that, we will definitely move to Q&A. We do have a couple questions already lined up, Yancy, so we'll get to that in just a minute. So to get us started, you know, for those of you who are new to Everbridge, and are probably asking, you know, what exactly, you might have gone to our site, but at a high level, what our main mission is and our goal is to keep people safe and businesses running, and that's for a wide variety of events, whether it's a man-made incident like an active shooter, you know, severe weather or a natural disaster. We also have products that are catered towards, you know, IT and IT outages, and peer-to-peer secure messaging, and event messaging specific for that. So to give you an idea of what industries we service and the verticals that we cover, where our customers come from, you know, it's from every single industry out there, whether it's a, you know, a large investment bank. We have 8 of the top 10 U.S. cities. We have some of the largest health insurers, hospitals, global consulting firms. And in terms of transportation, where we really stand out is we have 24 of the top 25 busiest airports in North America. And we're the only publicly traded company in our space. You can find us under EVBG. And we've been recognized in the market from BCI to Gartner. So we have the clear market recognition. So some of the other products that we have include, you know, mass notification, which is the general platform where you're able to, you know, automate your messages and send them out as a mass notification to the product that was covered today, Incident Management, and its subproduct, Scenario Manager, and how Incident Management allows you to do that. We also have a couple other products, as I had mentioned, a peer-to-peer secure messaging product, community engagement, our Nixle community engagement tool, which is leveraged by over 8,000 law enforcement agencies nationwide. So with that being said, I know we have quite a few questions, so we're going to get to them now. As a reminder, to ask a question, all you have to do is go to the GoToWebinar panel on your screen, select the questions drop-down, and when submitting your question, make sure you submit it to all panelists. So our first question, actually we got a couple of these, Michael in our audience, just to answer your question about the presentation will be available later. We will be sending out the slides and recording to anyone who registered. So I see you arrived late. Michael, you will be getting the full webinar and slides to go along with it. So let's jump into our first product-related question for you, Yancy. Joe in the audience wants to know, can you integrate with an outside scheduling tool to make sure on-call or on-schedule people are the ones who get messaged to respond to a given incident?
Yeah, so we're in the process of working with integrations with calendars, but currently we do not have a synchronization, right? So there is no like behind-the-scenes synchronization to an external calendaring tool. If I could, so that's like the marketing kind of answer or response or product response. If I could put on my ex-developer, I'm a recovering developer, I like to say, hat and kind of explain why we're, you know, that this has been a challenge, is because every calendaring app, if they're not following a standard, is incredibly difficult to understand and map to, right? So we have an entire team that has been started this year to orchestrate integrations with other products, and calendaring is one of them. It's just we don't have anything right now. So what you saw there is the calendar is you'd have to fill it out in there, and in order for it to send out to specific shifts based on date and time. We do have one integration with an ITSM tool, which, if those not familiar, it's what IT desks use for ticketing systems. So we don't really have a synchronization of the calendar there, but we do take their calendaring information that when they fill something out and it gets a real-time group, so it understands from an external source who the message should be sent to. So apologize for the long-winded explanation, but that's kind of where we are with synchronization of calendars.
Sure. And the next question is, with this tool or Everbridge in general, are you able to create after-action reports for these types of scenarios to ensure compliance?
Yes, absolutely. A PDF can be generated at any point after you hit send. So if you want to wait a minute to get like timestamps and everybody listed in the scenario, you can create a PDF at any time. Just keep creating them if you want to, and it just keeps building. The other nice part about sending out the notification is kind of that panel, that dashboard that I showed you. You're going to, and I neglected to show this, but you're going to have a little journal button at the bottom, which would be specific to the operator, which as they fill things out and as they're coordinating and getting phone calls and they're doing their job and coordinating all of this, they can submit really straightforward time-stamped notifications. Comments. So like just received a call from Fox News, enter, and it timestamps it, puts it in the permanent record. Just research, CNN, boom, done. So they can journal, that gets added into the PDF. The PDF would maintain all the timestamps, who was notified, all of that. So that's what everybody uses for their after-action report.
Awesome, thank you, Yancey. The next question is from Everett, and I can take this one, Yancey. He wants to know, is Community Engagement add-on product to Master Notification? So Everett, to answer your question, yes, it is. So Community Engagement is our Nixle tool, which is a standalone product, as I had mentioned, used by a lot of law enforcement agencies and smaller businesses, and for event-focused organizations, such as convention centers, trade shows, to capture transient populations. And so what you'd be able to do, yes, if you have mass notification, you'd be able to add that on. And what it would give you is the keyword and zip code opt-in. So for those of you not familiar with Nixle functionality, and their opt-ins is essentially for residents or visitors or certain groups, such as, say if you guys have, say if you're in an airport and you have you probably have hundreds, thousands of workers. Not all of them work for the airport. They might work for Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, or whatever. You could create a keyword for the airport that they could opt in, or visitors of the airport or the transit station could opt into, such as Dallas Airport. And they could text that keyword to 888-777, and they'd be able to receive your alerts at their discretion. So the next question for you, Yancey, is the tool integrated with service managers so that when a particular type of incident is created, it sends out notifications?
Oh, so if you wanted to integrate to actually initiate and launch without human intervention. Gotcha. If I'm wrong, whoever asked that question can respond, but we have a very rich API which allows for the initiation of these notifications, or it could be the notifications could be initiated by an email. So, and think of a system that triggers, like I'm just throwing it out there, but let's say we have an accident detection system on a train, right? And a collision detection system. And that were to fire off, if that was able to fire off an API call right on, like literally from the train, if that was able to fire off to command center or send out an email, then that could initiate the incident for sure.
Awesome, thank you, Yancey.
Mm-hmm.
Does Everbridge offer any pre-built template packages for customers or potential customers for this product or incident management in general?
So I'm part of the premium implementation team. So for a little extra, you can get 3 days of on-site assistance with the implementation. And we do have boilerplates, and we have an extensive, we call Everbridge University, which has templates that can be used to give inspiration and ideas for incidents. I always recommend that whenever I'm going on site, is people take a look at those and use them for inspiration, but that we always go through with a fine-tooth comb and personalize them to your need. Because just like anything, they're just a baseline, right? You never want to take them word for word because what you're going through might be slightly different, and you want to incorporate that. So, so the answer is yes, but they're not. When I say that it's content, right? As of now, it's not something that when you go into your platform, they're automatically going to be built and populated and ready to go. These are still things that you need to tweak and make sure and test to make sure that they're exactly configured the way you want them. That's a very important part, right?
Awesome. Thank you, Yancey. The next question is from Allie in the audience. She wants to know, can passengers or will passengers have the ability to report any issues or concerns using the Everbridge app?
So that's a good question. So the app doesn't. Let's see if they have the member portal. There isn't really a mechanism for them to. I wouldn't say that that's a use case for the platform. I would recommend that you set up like a hotline, like an email hotline for that, and then because I would probably recommend that over. There's nothing really in the platform other than if you wanted to set up an email for them to email situations to, and then the platform could act on that. But really, you'd want a human to be the gatekeeper to sending out any sort of notification. That's really what this platform does, right? So the way that
I think what they're asking actually is is really alert, and I do believe we have this functionality, Nancy, correct me if I'm wrong, but for them to alert the transit authority or whoever is the overseeing authority for that particular incident, would they be able to alert them? And I do believe there are a couple ways we can do that. Unless I'm wrong, but I have been on some other product webinars that we are able. I know with Nixle they do have some tipping functionality. Does that make it any more clear, Yancey?
It does in that I don't have an answer. Nixle is not one of my areas of expertise, not yet. So I'm going to have to defer that to maybe getting back to them from someone that has more Nixle expertise. Or the tipping is what you just described might be a great method, if you want to explain.
Yeah, Ali. So just to add on to that, and again, I do a lot of the marketing for Nixle and community engagement, and one of the functionalities for Nixle in particular, and I'll definitely have someone follow up with you afterwards just to give you a little more information. But with Nixle, there is some functionality where, for example, if an incident does happen, you're able to solicit tips. So if they see something happening that's of value to your organization, like say there's an active shooter, and they want to send you a picture of that person, maybe they just saw them, or something else, or they see an accident and they haven't gotten a notification yet, so they snap a picture. They are able to share that information with whoever the overseeing authority is. In the particular case I'm using, it might not be the transit authority, it might be law enforcement, so they can share with law enforcement. But I'll have someone follow with you in terms of some more finite details of how Everbridge does that, Ali. Let's do one more question because we are a little bit over. So Yancey, lastly, this is from Everett again. He wants to know, he's an organization or admin using mass notification. He doesn't have the option to see or create scenarios. There's no tab for him. Does this need to be turned on at account admin level? I think Everett, before Yancey answers that, so here's the first part. You would need incident management. So if you don't have incident management, Yancey, correct me if I'm wrong, you wouldn't have access to scenarios.
Correct.
Is that correct, Yancey?
Yep,
okay.
That's correct.
So Everett, what I can do is I'll have your account manager follow up with you. Oh, he does have incident management. So again, let me ask you the question again, Yancey. So he's an organization admin using mass notification. However, he does not see the option to see or create scenarios. There's no tab. Does this need to be turned on at the account admin level so he can have access to this? And they do have incident management.
Yeah, good. Okay, good question. So if you go into settings and then on the left-hand navigation go to notifications and then default options, about the fourth to the last option is to check off incident management next to scenario manager, and that will reveal the scenario functionality. So I believe by default it is not turned on, so I think you have to go and turn it off in the settings and just hit save, and they should show up.
Awesome, thank you. So at this time, we are gonna conclude the webinar. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'd like to thank Yancey for his great presentation. And if you guys have interest in discovering some of the other options on the platform, by all means, go to our website, www.everbridge.com/request-demo. If you'd like to receive a one-on-one demo after this. There is a survey after the webinar. If you guys can just please, fill it out, it'll help us out a lot in terms of quality and what type of topics you guys want to hear on some of the upcoming webinars, and what type of speakers you guys like us to bring in for some of our thought leadership webinars. So again, this webinar and all other webinars are in our on-demand resource section. Just go to everbridge.com/webinars or go to our resources tab on our website. Again, thank you everyone for participating today and joining us, and thank you again, Yancey, for your live demonstration. Have a great day, everyone.